Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just near the English Channel. It's an intense time in the world. The astrological symptoms of the planetary configurations are quite disturbed, and therefore all over the world there's disturbances in individuals, in collective units, whether it be families or friends or businesses or companies or countries. It's a very difficult time in the world. But the upside is that when we do actually hear the truth from these transcendental literatures, we get tangible relief, and it gives us spiritual experience and practical realization of what the solutions are. So I pray to the Supreme Lord of all hearts that we can take advantage of this time together, especially this very special Brhad Bhagavatamrta. So, Srimad-Bhagavatamrta Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami. We're going to recite it as we do every day. It goes like this. Sarvashastabdi piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarvalokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who were supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chuchata kada hanamuncha kadachin mam premna rit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Gopakumar, by the mercy of his spiritual master and the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, has arrived at Brahmaloka. And he's just, the first thing he sees is Mahapurusha, the incarnation of Mahavishnu that stays with Brahma on Brahmaloka. And Brahma is there taking instructions from the Lord himself. That's where we start. Text 136. Gazing at the Supreme Lord and repeatedly bowing down before him, I told my mind, today you have attained the ultimate fulfillment of all your desires. Be steady and joyful. Sounds like good advice for everybody. Commentary. In texts 136 through 140, while offering repeated obeisances, Gopakumar preaches to his own mind. They're very important. It's a one-line, one-sentence purport. Extremely important. We have to be able to preach to our own mind. 137. This abode, free from all sorrow, fear, and pain, is worshipped by the entire world. It is filled with the greatest opulence and bliss. Commentary. Satyaloka is the highest material abode, filled with inconceivable wealth and a happiness unequaled by any other sensory experience in this universe. Greater than any other place in the universe, Satyaloka is honored everywhere. 138. Dear brother, this planet shines forth with as much perfection as the Lord of the universe himself. It displays the final limit of complete excellence. Commentary. In the material world, persons and things have varieties of relative existence. One person has a well-proportioned body, another is charming, another virtuous or powerful. But the world of Satyaloka manifests all kinds of excellence to the greatest degree possible in the material universe. No other place is in any way as great. Text 139. You have felt the affection of Lakshmi. Now see her Lord with your own two eyes. Give up your thoughts of going away from here and give up your grieving over the cow pastures of Braja in Mathura. Text 140. If you want to be pampered like Brahma by the Lord of the universe, that also you can achieve by the power of the mantra taught to you by the Great Soul. Purport. Commentary. The personality of Godhead is present in Brahmaloka as Lord Mahapurusha. But in Govardhan, Gopakumar had met another Mahapurusha, the great devotee who had initiated him into the chanting of the Gopal mantra. For Gopakumar to be as familiar as Brahma with Lord Mahapurusha will be difficult, but we shall see how an arrangement is made for him. Text 141. The Supreme Lord turned to his pastime of sleep, and Brahma, sitting on the universal lotus born from the Lord's navel, realized what he had to do to create the universe, and so came outside to do his work. Commentary. The Transcendental Lord never sleeps, but he enjoys his pastime of pretending to sleep. Brahma's seat is the lotus that grows from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and bears the original subtle forms of the 14 created worlds. While sitting on that lotus, Brahma could see within it the entire plan for creating the universe. Without wasting time, he studied it thoroughly and then came out to discharge his responsibility. He got down from the lotus, left Lord Mahapurusha's residence, and went to his own. Text 142. I lived there happily for some time, seeing the very wonderful form of the Lord, observing the universe within the lotus grown from his navel, and witnessing the waves of love flowing over Brahma as he heard confidential instructions from the Lord. Commentary. Gopakumar was even more satisfied on Satyaloka than on Swargaloka and the planets of the sages. Text 143. During the dark of night, when the three worlds are totally destroyed and the universe becomes a single ocean, the personality of Godhead lies comfortably on Sheshanaga together with Brahma. Commentary. After each cycle of 1,000 yugas, Brahma's day ends, and Brahma joins the 1,000-headed Mahapurusha in going to sleep. Text 144. The residents of Janaloka and other higher planets praise the personality of Godhead with choice words. I saw these fascinating events by the powerful influence of Brahmaloka. Commentary. While Lord Mahapurusha sleeps, sages from Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka come to recite his glories. Gopakumar's previous encounters with the night times of Brahma on the planets Mahar, Jana, and Tapas had been less pleasant than this. He had been unaware of how Lord Mahapurusha and Brahma enjoy their sleep. Text 145. When the Lord sometimes went elsewhere, he would disappear, and I would be unhappy. But that painful feeling would be cut to the root as soon as he returned. Commentary. Unaware of where the Lord was going, Gopakumar was distressed by the Lord's absence. But when the Lord would return after a short while, Gopakumar would at once forget his distress and even forget that the Lord had left him. Thus, his feelings of unhappiness on Satyaloka were of little account. The one small reason for unhappiness that sometimes arose was short-lived and so did not affect his overall mood. Text 146. After I had spent some days in this way, early one morning, out of curiosity, Brahma touched a mass of foam and it turned into a demon. Commentary. Gopakumar was harboring the desire to become Brahma so that he could enjoy Brahma's special relationship with the Lord of the universe. He thought of this desire while chanting his japa, and thus, and after only a few of Brahma's days, Gopakumar was given what he wanted. A large residue of foam was left from the previous ocean of devastation, and Brahma touched it, unmindful of any serious consequence. The foam turned into a terrible demon, huge and extremely strong, due to being born from the vast water of devastation. 147. Terrified of him, Brahma fled. The personality of Godhead killed the demon. But Brahma, overcome by fear, did not come back, and the Lord assigned me to his post. Commentary. Brahma hid in a place where no one could find him. His fear prevented him from returning even after Lord Narayana had killed the demon. Text 148. I sent Vaishnavas into the creation to increase devotional service to the Lord. Indeed, I engaged only Vaishnavas everywhere in all responsibilities. Commentary. Material creation is called Srishti because the world and the living entities, rather than being created from nothing, are sent forth, Srijan, in each new creation. When Gopakumar took up the position of creator, he brought many advanced Vaishnavas into his universe and assigned them to the posts of Indra, Surya, Chandra, the Prajapatis, and other demigods. Text 149. Arranging for the Almighty Lord to be worshipped in all directions with great sacrifices like the Ashwamedha, I flooded the universe with joy. Commentary. Lord Brahma is responsible for creating the worlds and the bodies of all the species of life, and for teaching the living beings in each class their proper work according to the injunctions of the Vedas. Gopakumar enthusiastically promoted Vedic sacrifices for the pleasure of the personality of Godhead. Even though I was encumbered by the post of the supreme authority in the universe, even though I was glorified in various ways by the Maharshis, the Brahmarishis, and the personified Vedas, Agamas, Puranas, Itihasas, sacrifices, and pilgrimage sites, and even though I was surrounded by great sources of delight, I did not give up my natural simplicity. Commentary. Without the strong spiritual qualifications of true humility and devotion to the Supreme, no one could avoid becoming intoxicated by the material power and facility for enjoyment given to Gopakumar. He now had the highest position in the universe, with seemingly unlimited opulences. The greatest sages and the revealed scriptures and the sacrifices personified all attended him in his court, singing his praises and presenting themselves for service at his pleasure. Nonetheless, he did not think of himself as someone special, as anything other than a humble devotee of the Lord of the Universe, Sri Madan Gopal. Text 152. Even so, I was immersed in the waves of the ocean of Brahma's duties, and therefore unable to enjoy devotional service to the Lord as I had before. My mind was too disturbed by anxious concerns. Commentary. Once again, Gopakumar encountered circumstances that awakened within him a desire to go to an even better place. With so much responsibility on his shoulders, life in such a loka was troublesome. Brahma's unavoidable duties were unlimited and deep like an ocean, and Gopakumar felt himself drowning in the churning waves. Text 153. Hearing that I would die at the end of a lifespan of true paradas, I was afraid. And as I chanted my mantra, remembrance of this Brajabhumi gave me more distress. Commentary. To avoid being frightened by thinking about his imminent death, Gopakumar, Brahma, relied on his mantra but chanting only stirred memories of Braja, giving him a different kind of distress. Text 154. But I would derive great happiness from being pampered like a son by the Lord of the universe, and thus the mental agitation I was going through would be dispelled. Commentary. Satyaloka is such a pure place that unhappiness cannot persist for long. Lord Mahapurusha himself would see to this. By showering affection on his devotee, he would wash away distress in a flood of bliss. Text 155. Because of being too close to the Lord, because of being too close to the Lord and serving him as if he were my father, I would sometimes commit offenses against him, but he tolerated all those offenses. Commentary. Staying close to a great person for an extended time can be dangerous. As the saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt. For Gopakumar, in the role of Brahma, this danger was compounded by his thinking himself the son of Lord Vishnu. Often a son has no fear of dissatisfying his father because he knows that his father loves him too much to reject him. Indeed, Lord Maharapurusha acted like a doting father, tolerating the childish offenses of Gopakumar. Text 156. Still, at times I felt great distress in my mind, but when the goddess Lakshmi showed me motherly affection, I would again become joyful. Thus I lived there a long time. Commentary. Although the Lord showed no sign of taking offense, Gopakumar, realizing that he was not serving with the proper attitude, sometimes became disturbed. Embarrassed by his own behavior toward his father, he would be consoled by his mother, Lakshmi. Thus he lived happily in Satyaloka, even when facing causes of distress. 157. Once, hearing the residents of Brahmaloka glorify someone who had attained liberation here on earth, I asked them about that amazing event. Commentary. In texts 157 through 230, Gopakumar describes in depth the immediate cause for his leaving Satyaloka. The sages on Satyaloka were talking about someone who had achieved moksha, mukti, or liberation, while living in Bharatvarsha. As they were praising that person and the process of devotional service by which he had gained moksha, Gopakumar, who had never heard of moksha, asked the sages, "What is this moksha? Why are you glorifying someone so much for attaining it?" Text 158. I heard from those all-knowing sages about the super excellence and rareness of liberation, and so I desired it myself. I then asked them how liberation could be attained. Commentary. Among the sages from whom Gopakumar was inquiring were the personified Vedas, who surely were capable of giving him authoritative answers. And Gopakumar's newly acquired eagerness to become liberated qualified him as a fit candidate to hear from the Vedas about the means of attaining liberation. Text 159. Many of the presiding goddesses of the Upanishads answered, joined by Shrutis and Smritis. They said that only by knowledge is liberation achieved and by no other means. Commentary. The Upanishads are the essential philosophical portion of the Shrutis, or Vedas. They are described here as Devya, which means both presiding deities and brilliantly effulgent. Thus the Upanishads were present in person in Brahma's assembly along with other revealed scriptures. The Shrutis mentioned separately here are other sections of the Vedas, particularly the Samhitas, Brahmanas, and Aranyakas. The Smritis are the Dharmashastras, Puranas, Agamas, and so on. The majority of Upanishads, Shrutis, and Smritis declared that moksha, the most excellent and rarely obtained goal, can be achieved only by knowledge. In the words of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.8, Tameva vidit vati mrityumeti nanyak panta vidyate yanaya. Knowing him, one transcends death. There is no other path for attaining this goal. Gopakumar's narration will later reveal that knowledge leading to liberation arises only from devotional service. In fact, the cultivation of knowledge of the Supreme Person and his energies is itself a kind of devotional service. As long as knowledge remains impersonal, it cannot lead to true liberation. Text 160. But some Puranas and Agamas said gravely that this knowledge, difficult to obtain, is easily acquired by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Commentary. The Agamas are tantras, books on the methods of devotional worship. Prominent among them are the Pancharatras. Some of the Agamas and Puranas teach the methods of pure devotional service very effectively, and these are the scriptures who at this juncture spoke up with unshaking conviction. 161. Some other Shrutis and Smritis indirectly showed agreement among themselves that by devotional service alone, properly done, liberation is easy to attain. Commentary. In the opinion of the Vaishnava Puranas and Agamas, liberation is attained with special ease by devotional service that is free from material desires and properly executed in all essential details. Such pure devotional service by itself, tatyaiva, leads to liberation without help from anything else. As stated in the Brihad Naradiya Purana 32:6 and 4:30. Bhaktir dritha bhavet yasya devadeve janardane shayangsi tasya siddhanti bhaktimanto dikastataha. By one whose devotion is steadfast to Janardhan, the Lord of Lords, all superior benefits are gained. Such is the excellence of the Lord's devotees. Jivanti jantavak sarve yata mataramashritaha tata bhaktim samashritya sarva jivanti siddhayaha. Just as all living beings live under the shelter of their mothers, all perfections live under the complete shelter of devotional service. The benefits and perfections mentioned in these verses include liberation. Although the verses do not specify this, it is implied. So those two verses are Brihad Naradiya Purana 33:6 and 4:30. Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita 11:54, Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahang evang vidorjana gyatum drashtum chatatmena praveshtum chatpadantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into my existence. Entering into the existence of the personality of Godhead, that is, entering his association, by its very nature, includes liberation. The theistic Shrutis and Smritis, among them some of the Dharma Shastras, are in agreement about this understanding, and they indicated this by the movements of their heads and by other subtle signs. These scriptures do not promote pure devotional service explicitly, but one may discover the importance of bhakti in their purports. Thus we read in the Padma Purana, Patala Kanda 92:26. Wife, children, precious necklaces and wealth, home, horses, elephants, every happiness, and moreover the attainment of heaven and liberation. When devotional service to Lord Hari is present, none of these are difficult to obtain. Text 162. Angry at not hearing those Shrutis and Smritis speak up, some of the great Upanishads and scriptures, like the Agamas, who follow in their footsteps, openly affirmed that devotional service is an independent cause of liberation. Commentary. The more devotional of the Upanishads were angry at the other devotional scriptures who weren't bold enough to say what they knew, and so were certain Vaishnava Agamas and Puranas who took shelter of those Upanishads. Together, therefore, these Upanishads, Agamas, and Puranas declared in no uncertain terms that liberation is effortlessly achieved by unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Brihanaradiya Purana, O best of Brahmanas, there is no doubt that those who are dedicated to Lord Hari's devotional service achieve all the goals of life, known as religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. And in a prayer to the personality of Godhead, we read in the Sri Vishnu Purana 120:27. What is the value of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification to one who has firm devotion to you, the root of all the worlds? Liberation sits in the palm of his hand. Text 163. A few confidential Upanishads smiled and kept silent, along with some confidential major Agamas and Puranas. Commentary. The little known, most confidential Upanishads, like the Gopal Tapani, smiled but said nothing. And so did certain Vaishnava Agamas, like the Sattvaka Siddhanta, and a few Puranas, like Srimad-Bhagavatam. Some were thinking, just see the power of the Supreme Lord's illusory energy, which makes the essential meaning of Scripture, which should be obvious, incomprehensible to vastly learned authorities. Others were thinking scornfully, who are these Shastras to presume that merely bestowing liberation is the true glory of bhakti? This second group saw no purpose in arguing with scriptures whose outlook was so dissimilar from their own, and even thought it improper that these intimate topics be discussed in public. Granted, these scriptures thought karma, jnana, and moksha make up the ladder ascending to bhakti, devotional service, and so the glories of Vedic rituals, knowledge, and liberation culminate in the glories of bhakti. Nonetheless, when the main focus of discussion is on lesser spiritual methods, the importance of bhakti can only be hinted at. In such contexts, its super excellence cannot be properly revealed. With these thoughts in mind, the Bhagavatam and a few other scriptures, following the lead of the confidential Upanishads, kept quiet. Text 64, 65. A fierce debate then arose between the Agamas on one side and the scriptures like certain Shrutis and Puranas on the other, about whether or not liberation is achieved merely by chanting mantras that worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unable to tolerate the debate, the Puranas, Agamas, and Upanishads, who had been silent, covered their ears and left. It's a heavy thing, heavy conflict going on up there in Brahmaloka. Commentary. Amnaya means the original Vedic texts or Shrutis, and in the phrase Amnaya Puranadibihi, the suffix Adibihi and so on indicate scriptures such as the Dharma Shastras and epic histories. As the previous discussions were left behind and a debate began on a new topic, the Shastras, who were unable to tolerate hearing it or the doubt on which it was based, left the assembly in disgust. They covered their ears to avoid the offense of even hearing doubts that the Supreme Lord's mantras have the power to give liberation. These Shastras, in their own pages, never entertain even a hint of doubts of this sort. Moments before, the confidential Upanishads had taken the lead in keeping quiet, followed by the Bhagavatam and other confidential Puranas. Now, in boycotting the debate, the Bhagavatam and its colleagues took the lead. 166. Then the major Puranas and Upanishads became arbitrators, and so victory went to the Agamas. That pleased me very much. Commentary. Now that the most advanced Puranas, Upanishads, and Agamas had walked out on the debate, they were able to give impartial consideration to both sides. And they deemed correct the claim made by the Agamas that liberation is easily achieved simply by chanting mantras, worshipping the personality of Godhead. As stated in the Vishnu Purana 1.6.40, Gatva nivartante Chandra Suryadayo grahaha Adyapi nanivartante Dvadashakshara chintaya yakaha. Even the moon, sun, and other planets are created and destroyed again and again. But persons who have meditated on the 12-syllable Vishnu mantra have never had to return, even till the present day. And Sri Padma Purana gives this opinion. The Supreme Lord is always satisfied when praised by the chanting of his mantras, and so he awards abundant enjoyment as well as eternal liberation. Because Gopakumar was absorbed in chanting a mantra addressed to the Supreme Lord and had no interest in other spiritual practices, he was extremely pleased by the conclusion of the debate. And that's it. It's 8 o'clock. So we'll stop here on text 167. Okay. Now we're in the midst of the court of Brahma, where Gopakumar has taken that position by fate. And he heard a debate going on, and just as Parikshit Maharaj, when he ended up going to the bank of the Ganga to fast until it was time for him to leave his body, the bite of the snake bird, remember that? So all these sages arrived from all over the universe, and they are representatives of these personified Vedas that are there in the court of Brahma. And Maharaj Parikshit naturally was asking them what he should do. And they didn't all agree. It wasn't until Shukadev Goswami came, and everyone, just by seeing his physiognomy, his form, they all bowed down, except for Brahma and Vyasa and Narada, maybe a couple of others, but everyone else just fell down because they could see this person knows. And so he ended up being put on the seat, and Maharaj Parikshit ended up inquiring from him, and the Srimad-Bhagavatam in that way was introduced into the mainstream of human society publicly. So it means that, as the beginning of the Bhagavatam talks about, there's many scriptures, and they have different opinions and different methods and different seemingly contradictory ideas. They're not really contradictory, but it takes a very deep person to reconcile them, the differences. So now we're going to hear, we'll hear now, tomorrow, how it was resolved. This idea that bhakti can give automatically liberation, devotional service. So these are deep points, and they make the same point as the Bhagavad Gita is making, bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanjaschasmitat pataha, that only by pure devotional service can one actually attain liberation from material existence. And we can see already Brahma, what's happening to Brahma now? He just touched a piece of foam from the annihilation, and it turned into a big demon, and it was going to eat him or something, and he had to run and hide. So let us not try to go to Brahmaloka or Swargaloka or the other higher planets in the universe. And Gopiparanadhana is finding out about this firsthand and passing it on to us. Hare Krishna. Any reflections or comments?
From Radha Madan Mohan. Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna, blessed to be with you as always in your reading circle. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta.
Well, thank you. I must say that my life is dedicated to reading these scriptures verbatim, cover to cover. And if at the end of the session there's some comment, or for me it's just incidental, I'm really trying to give these scriptures as they are. And it's giving me great happiness and ability to tolerate so many things that are going on, so many difficulties that are going on. Every day there's something or another. Thank you for that.
That's from Santa Rupa Devi Dasi.
Mm-hmm.
My mind needs a lot of preaching. Thank you for this daily nectar.
There you go. If you can't do it yourself, put yourself in the front of the vibration that can do it for you. But actually, in the final analysis, you have to learn the art of preaching to yourself, because you can't always be in the company of, the scriptures being read by others. You have to learn the art of preaching to your own mind. Everyone does. Hare Krishna.
From Braj Vallabha.
Hare Krishna Braj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Braj Vallabha is our guardian angel.
Mhm.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. It seems the theme that as Gopakuma continues in the heavenly planets is further encumbered by responsibility and work which is distracting him. I also enjoy how Gopakuma notices how he is not fulfilled by the varying levels of interactions with Krishna in the heavenly planets.
Yes, this is a rare opportunity thing, and it's coming by the mercy of Krishna personally as his spiritual master. So yes, he's very fortunate. It's a very special situation. Not to be imitated. We can't imitate Gopakumar.
Ratimanjay said, Jai Guru Maharaj, happy to be back in the flock.
Happy to be back, but I want to tell everybody that Rati Manjari sent me a video of her, kirtan in the rain in Holland, and it was just ecstatic. It was very ecstatic. I got uplifted. I'm sitting here in this little kind of like enclave, like a well-appointed cave, more or less. And I told her that I live vicariously through her, watching her activities, Hare Krishna. It's also the disappearance day of Tamal Krishna Maharaj and disappearance day of Jagannath Das Babaji. So these are auspicious personalities and auspicious days to remember Krishna by and remember them by. Hare Krishna.
From Radha Madan Mohan. Amazing that all those Puranas, Upanishads, and Bhagavatam are all in person forms and are discussing and arguing each other's. Haribol.
Yes, exactly. And that is the point. There's nothing impersonal. Everything has a personified form. Especially as you get higher and higher in the universe, that's true. And when you get to Brahmaloka, even the Vedas are there in personified form.
Yeah, Brhad Bhagavatamrta said, Maharaj, your enclave is a fortress of bhakti.
Okay, we'll get out the gun turret, and start to fight with Maya. Hare Krishna.
Rati said, Jai, so happy to hear that, Guru Maharaj. Yes, it was ecstatic, but please know I fly around on the wind of your daily inspirational reading. Thank you.
Well, that's nice things to say. I mean, everybody needs encouragement, and I get so much encouragement from you all for what I'm doing. Yes, I admit that I'm dedicated to this, and whatever else is happening around me, it causes me to be peaceful. Not just peaceful, but happy, undisturbed by all the impediments that are being thrown. I mean, we're about to do something here. When we do get these audiobooks out finally, and we will, it's just taking a little more time than we thought because of these disturbances, my fall, and Rasika's, vision going blurry because he's looking at the screen for too long every day, and Abhay going out and having to go through all these adventures getting back to America. It's all not disturbing me, the heart, the soul. Hare Krishna. So I thank you all again, and I will take a leave of you now, and pray that you all stay happy and take these teachings and the atmosphere, just the sound, the atmosphere is created by the sound. Keep it in your heart and allow your heart to become more and more attracted. Allow it to feel separation from Krishna. This is real, what is it called? Vidya. Material nature has two types of knowledge, Vidya and Avidya. And Avidya takes you away from Krishna, and Vidya takes you toward Krishna. So all these philosophical discussions that are going on with the Vedas, they are all Vidya. Even though they may not directly be about Krishna, and they may not agree and this and that, but still they take you toward Krishna. But noticed that in this discussion, the Bhagavatam left the court, hands over its ears, his ears, her ears, his ears, anyway. And yes, so therefore you should know that the Bhagavatam and any literature that is based on the Bhagavatam, the corollary scriptures, of which the Brhad Bhagavatamrta is one prominent one, very important one, having been received from Lord Chaitanya by Sanatana Goswami. So we are so fortunate, and we've been given the topmost literature. This is Nigamakalpa Taror Kalitam. You might remember when we were reading tonight, the Agama is the corollary scriptures. The Vedas are the main scriptures, the Shrutis, eternal scriptures. And the Agama are explanations of those scriptures in a way that is more easily understandable by common people. And so yeah, we should be very, very grateful that Prabhupada gave us the Gita, the Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The essence of the Vedic scriptures. Especially the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same topic. The creme de la creme. De la creme, de la creme, de la creme, de la creme. De la creme, de la creme, de la creme, de la creme. Hare Krishna.